So where are all the gear snobs? What's up, everyone? I'm Jack Fossett. Welcome to Real Guitar Talk, and today I want to talk about gear snobs again. We've talked about gear snobs an awful lot on this channel. We've talked about them in terms of gear snobs for people who have a lot of money. We've also talked about gear snobs who don't have an awful lot of money, and how both is folly and all this and that. But one point that has come up on a number of the videos is, where does this actually happen, right? I did a whole video on things that gear snobs get wrong. I talked about guitar finishes, branding, and a number of other things. And, several people in the comments brought up the point of, where are people actually sort of acting that snooty, particularly the ones who have more money? Where do you actually get that vitriol? Where do you actually get these people kind of looking at someone with a cheap guitar and going, here's the interesting thing. It's usually not direct. The direct ones tend to be the people who have lower priced gear, who sort of go out of their way to put down people with higher priced gear and call them stupid, or, why would you buy something like that when my $300 whatever is just as good as any custom shop stuff. It's usually indirect when you're talking about people who have high-end gear, who sort of act like there's nothing else out there, who are really snobbish about it. What do I mean when I say indirect? I mean, it's usually boasting, but not at someone's face, right? So for instance, if you were to go search what's the difference between nitro and poly or whatever else, and is it something I should be concerned about? If you look on forums, if you look on, guitar message or comment sections, that's probably where you're going to see a lot of that sort of boasting. It's not at someone in the terms of saying, just like, well, my guitar is better than yours because it has nitro finish, which, by the way, nitro is extremely toxic. They don't even make it the way that they used to make it in the early days because of EPA regulations. That's a tangent for another time. My point is that you'll get people who say just kind of like, like, oh yeah, well, you really need to get the nitro finish because it breathes more, which is also ridiculous. We talked about that in the other video as well. But they're not, it's not so much as saying, to someone like, I'm better than you because I have this, but it's sort of this trying to control people's thoughts by saying that this is better than that. Now, are some things objectively better? Sure. I think there is an objective build quality when it comes to guitars. Now, that would actually be an interesting subject for another video, is what actually makes a good guitar. Because some of it is subjective, but I do think that there's a lot of objective measurements in which we can say one guitar is built better than another one. But a lot of it is really nitpicky, and a lot of the stuff also is not necessarily correct, maybe correct some of the time. Obviously, one of the things that comes to mind there is branding. Just because you have a guitar from a certain brand doesn't necessarily mean it's a better guitar than one from another brand. Usually there's kind of a suggestion that there is, and obviously one of the things we've talked about a number of times on this channel is whatever brand you have, whatever guitar you have, has absolutely no reflection on your ability as a player, or certainly as your value as a person. Obviously, anytime you get into things where there's like a hierarchy of goods regarding value, you are going to it's really just a kind of a focused view on class issues, really. Who is where they are on the class scale and for what reason. Sometimes it's because people made good versus bad decisions. Sometimes there's a lot of luck and circumstance involved. It can, in some cases, reflect on decisions that you've made, but it really doesn't reflect on, certainly your value as a person. So, but that's why I think people get really testy about these things. That's why people get so worked up over what do they have, what do they not have. But again, kind of going back to the point, that is where I mostly see. I have once in a while dealt with someone in person. I did have someone say, like, when I was playing a Squire when I was younger, I did have someone say, like, well, I have a real Fender as opposed to the Squire that I had. And yeah, that hurt. that bothered me. I didn't like that because I loved my guitar, and this person kind of, made me feel. And I did have somebody once. I went to a music store that dealt in GNLs, and I got to talking to the guy, and I had at this point, it's still one of my favorite guitars. I have an American Standard Stratocaster. It's been modified at this point, but I had just recently gotten my American Standard Stratocaster. It was a gift from my wife, then fiance, and I absolutely loved it. And that guy, when I went in, I mentioned, oh yeah, I just got this cool new guitar, and he kind of went, let me tell you all the reasons why your guitar is crap and my GNLs that I'm dealing are better. Okay, and so it's like, yeah, every so often you do actually run into it directly. I've gotten, some comments back and forth from people just going to musicians' jams and things before. But for the most part, again, people who have higher priced gear, people who are really the classical view of a guitar snob, like an upper class guitar snob, that tends to be more indirect. The direct ones are the ones with lower price gear, putting down people with higher price gear. They're usually the ones who will say it to your face, which I don't like. Again, if you have a less expensive guitar and you love it, just love it. Okay? You don't need it to be better than someone else's guitar in order for you to love it. You don't need that validation. You just need to love your guitar and make good music on it. That's what I have to say about this. What do you think? I'm Jack Fossett. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
We can't go on the way we've been going, and it's gotten so hard with this doubt that keeps growing. So come on, darling, over here to my arms and give me the love I've been craving. You tried your best, but people brought you down. They hate when you stand, and they kick you when you're on the ground.